Good evening, team. Warm welcome to all members of Hellis Plantations Estate and Corporate Management team. We are back here again at this evening for another wonderful session, even with an expert, session number 12. The topic is, can you make a sense at a glance, managing data into meaningful information? So with our invitation, today we have another very well experienced resource person whom the local and the international fraternity, he knows very well as an entrepreneur, but he's a very good inspiring speaker on this particular subject. So on behalf of our Managing Director, Dr. Roshan Rajzore, and entire team of Hellis Plantations, we would like to warmly welcome our guest speaker today, Mr. Sampath Jayasundara. We warmly welcome you, Sampath, and thank you very much on behalf of all of us. I would like to thank you because I know you are really busy these days, but when I approached you, I think with very short notice, you accepted the invitation. So friends, today our topic is based on the data management. As you know, data management is the practice of collecting, organizing, protecting, and storing an organization's data so it can be analyzed for business decisions. And organizations create and consume data and unprecedented rates. Data management solutions become essential for making sense of the vast quantities of data. Data is the raw material. You need to have better understanding how to transform this data into meaningful information for sound business decision-making process. So this particular topic, we have invited, as I mentioned earlier, one of the eminent and very well experienced resource person speaker, Mr. Sampath Jayasundara. Let me introduce Mr. Sampath Jayasundara to the topic, to the session. Mr. Sampath Jayasundara, the Chief Executive Officer of HSenid Business Solutions, is an outstanding leader with over 2 decades of experience in the IT industry. Over the years, he has steered people toward rapid business growth and millennial cultures to achieve high levels of success. His journey has inspired young Sri Lankan tech entrepreneurs, empowering them to believe that with talent, determination, and dedication, Sampath began his career as a technical resource and quickly rose through the ranks to become Director General Manager and the Chief Executive Officer of HSenid Business Solutions. Sampath has served as a lecturer, lecture panel member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, CIPM of Sri Lanka, after completing his degree and a postgraduate diploma in computer science at the University of Colombo, and then an MBA at PIM University of Sri Jayewardenepura. He's now a lecturer for Open University of Sri Lanka, University of Colombo. Can you please mute the microphones? Right. University of Colombo and Postgraduate Institute of Management, PIM, University of Sri Jayewardenepura. He's also the co-founder and director of Pioneer Institute of Business and Technology Private Limited, and an institute that offers IT and business degree programs in collaboration with the University of Greenwich in the UK and Leeds Trinity University in the UK. As a renewed speaker, Sampath has addressed many executive coaching sessions, both locally and internationally. He continues to lecture for master's degree reading graduates at several universities around the country. The extraordinary leader of HSenid emphasizes the importance of dedication and determination in succeeding as an entrepreneur in every industry. So with that message, with that introduction, I would like to invite Sampath to the session. Over to you, Sampath.
Thank you, Anuruddha. Give me a minute, I'll share my screen.
Okay, sure.
Hope you all can hear me as well as you can see my screen.
Yes, Sampath, it's very clear and your voice is audible. Yeah.
Yeah. So hope we'll not face challenges with regards to connectivity. Thank you very much once again, Anuruddha and Roshan and the team. So connecting, it's wonderful to see around 60 executives joining for today's session. In fact, even yesterday also I had to do a session that is for very young set of graduates on completely different topic. So it's a privilege to meet you all. Not even though it's not physical session, like even online. Last 1.5 years or 2 years, we also continue in everything online, implementation to technical activities, everything. So today we are going to talk about data-driven decision making. So we usually we call it D3M. Anuruddha gave an introduction to what we should do within organization. So I'm trying to go into some of the details, encouraging you all to create a culture within the organization. So that's my objective. So before moving to, I'll give 2 minutes introduction to my company as well. That is my duty, so since I'm leading a company. So from zenith Business Solution, the company I manage, this is a significant period for zenith, because I think some of you all might have heard about, we are going to list our company in Colombo Stock Exchange on 3rd December. So we already launched the campaign on 23rd November, that is this week, last Tuesday. So these days, morning to evening, I'm also talking to different investors. There are so many investor meetings happening morning to evening. So really busy, but still allowed to talk to you all as well to explain the topic. So my company, Colombo-based company, we have more than 250 engineers directly working with me. That is in Business Solution Limited point of view, but as a group, we are right now close to around 600 employee organization as a zenith group. So we have offices in Colombo, Singapore, Australia, India, and we have operations in Bangladesh and Kenya for African operation. In fact, one of the last recent achievement, we make sure last November 17th, government of Uganda went live with the zenith system, our flagship HR solution. The whole government went live. So that will enable 450,000 government servants within 235 government institutions to work on one single system. So I shared that information because when you go into detailed topics, you will realize the importance of having integrated system within organization to get the right data out. So the topic is the D3M, data-driven decision making. People know as D3M. Even though we say data-driven decision making, everybody is aware as soon as you say D3M. So D3M, why it is important, because end of the day, today's organization should make decisions based on data, because we always make decisions based on gut feeling. So we feel okay, whether to promote a person or whether to increase the price or whether to make certain other decisions. Sometimes, since we are part of the business for so many years, we tend to make decisions based on our gut feeling. But it's very interestingly today, the whole world is changing towards data-driven decision making. Sometime I'll start with a story. Sometime back, one young lady came for an interview that is actually for a data science related job. So I realized she's very young, but the knowledge she had, can't believe, on the data science area. Okay, and the example she gave me, wonderful. Then I realized she's living in USA, Sri Lankan girl with father and obviously with parents, because father went to USA for a job and then he settled there. Now she want to come back and experience Sri Lankan culture. So her background was data-driven decision making, creating analytics for organizations. Her role is creating analytics for organization. Then I asked how do you got into this area? Very interesting, at very young stage. Then she's told me, what she told me is very interesting, because my father is into data analytics. So father, I think, has left Sri Lanka late 90s. So he joined actually one of the US airlines way back in 1999 as a data analytics engineer. So that means companies are analyzing data for last so many years, at least good 35, 40 years, maybe since mid 80s or mid 90s. Okay. Now that guy father has started a company in USA. Their job is actually they do consultancy services to other companies on data area. So they go and understand the data requirement, how to organize this data properly, what system to use, then how to analyze that data, what tools to use, and get the right output. So that is important. So today's organization, if you look at even the group like Haley's, the plantation sector, if you look at the systems you use even at the moment, you might have terabytes of data in your systems, in your servers. Okay, but are we make use of that data effectively? That's a question. Do we have a consolidated effort to get these data insights out? Okay, because reality, we always talk about data, but there's a story or there's a process for data processing. Data, we simply say process data become information. When you process data, it convert into information. Information can be converted into knowledge and intelligence. So starting point is data. Data can be converted into information. Information can be further processed to knowledge and intelligence. So today's organization require that knowledge, require that intelligence to make intelligent decisions. But not only that, that is not the step, the final stage. Okay, when you process the intelligence further, or when you keep on acquiring knowledge over a period of time, organization will get wisdom. So that is what is important. So if you look at the data journey, starting point is data, data convert into information, information convert into intelligence and knowledge, and it further end up as wisdom. So organization should have wisdom today to make the decision. So your accuracy of your decisions may be very much higher. Okay, so that's what we are looking at in today's context, because world is changing so fast. Millions of emails are sent, millions of WhatsApp messages, Viber messages are sent in a minute. So fast changing world, if you're not capturing that data, if you're not analyzing that data, if you're not making right decisions based on that data, our organization will be obsolete. So it is high time for us to look at what to do with this data. Is very important. Okay, the important point is, for any organization, you have to create a culture that is very important, that encourage critical thinking. Okay, to understand about your business, curiosity in the business environment. You have to create that culture. Usually this can go as a top-down approach. So starting from top, you have to always talk about, even my company, they know, sometimes when I want to implement something, or when I want to make it to a culture, so I repeat it very regular basis. Morning meetings, I discuss that. Sometime even casual gathering, I talk about that. I start giving example. So I want to make it, whatever we are going to implement, we want to make it to a culture. Okay, so that is very important. That is very interesting as well. On the other hand, there are three core capabilities. Okay, that can be considered as the foundation when you are creating data-driven culture. One is data proficiency, understanding about data, from managing directors, CEOs, department heads, executives, low level, everybody, whether they understand about data. Do you know data about data? Data about data, qualities of data, where to collect that data, how to maintain this data, and that is important. So we call it data proficiency. So organization point of view, you have to look at what level of proficiency we have at the moment. This can be developed. It's not a big deal. Okay, throughout today's session also we'll learn some of the things. Then analytical agility, that's also very important. Okay, how agile you are to analyze this data, because if you have to make a decision this week, you can't postpone that decision to next week or next month. So do you have the right systems, right practices, right people in place? Make that game. So you have to bring that analytical agility within the organization. Okay. Third one is a community. That is your people. That is your culture. So how do you going to make sure you are creating a data culture within the organization? How are you going to make sure people understand the importance of data? Now, simple example, one common complaint comes from people when sales director call for just before the sales director call for a sales meeting, let's say monthly sales meeting, everybody log into CRM and just update the CRM. Because why? Sales director is going through the CRM just to check information. Is that the right practice? Is that the community we want to build internally? May not. If it is part and parcel of the culture, it should happen automatically as part of day-to-day life. There's a nice book called Toyota Way, very old book. Toyota Way talks about Toyota culture with information systems and other processes. Okay, very nice book to read. It's a HR book, considered as a HR book called Toyota Way. So they talk about they are the information system they have implemented at Toyota. They say it is part and parcel of the culture. It's part and parcel of the culture. So you can't differentiate the system and people. But if some people are trying to enter some data just before a meeting, just to satisfy the supervisor or the top, that means you don't have a culture. Okay, so how do you going to create that culture within the organization? That's the interesting part. So we will look at it. So data-driven decision making for what? For you to make a decision, yes. For you to make a decision, no. Maybe future. So you might have to collect more information. You might have to drill down further. You might have to maybe internal information you have to combine with external data and further analysis. So this is what is happening. This is what you need to do. So this whole decision-making process is dependent on certain areas. Okay, one is leadership. That is very important. These are different components of this ecosystem, whole ecosystem we are going to talk about. One is leadership. So it's very important. A simple example, I had to sit and design all the matrices for different business areas with my senior team. I didn't pass that challenge to my subordinates or low level people. I would have done by that way as well. I would have recruited a different person, asked him to go and meet all the CEOs, all the secretaries, all the unit heads and gather this data. No, I realized let's say it is very important for us to understand first, for us to appreciate first, then the next level senior team. So this is that is why I'm telling always, this is actually not a bottom-up approach. This has to be top-down approach. That is my view. Okay. At the same time, trust you are going to build with data source. From where you collect this data? Are you trusting your systems generate this data? It can be system driven, it can be manual. But how far you can trust this data? Because that is very important. Because if you're not trusting data, you will not trust the output. You will not trust the intelligence generated by systems. So your decisions may not be accurate. So there's a big issue on that. Okay. So third angle is commitment. Are you committed? Is it just let's say, no, we want to do it. So we discuss, then over a period of time, interest is going down. You lose the enthusiasm. And that's a common practice. But how do you going to keep that commitment throughout? Till you establish as part of your organization culture, get into people's blood. That is what is important. Okay. So then the right matrices. How do you going to identify right matrices? One of the biggest mistakes people are doing, you just collect some of the matrices from web, various sites, and that becomes your matrix. No harm in looking at that. Even I did the same thing. I read many different articles, many different areas. I collect so much of different matrices. But when we have to get the senior team together, discuss with them and analyze and see what matrices required for us to steer our business. Those are common matrices. Yes, common matrices are important. Labor turnover is a very common matrix. Okay, client acquisition cost can be a common matrix in a sales area. Velocity can be a common matrix in sales. So you can use those common matrices, but what are the unique matrices where you require? Because just because like you have 100 matrices in sales area, you're not going to use all 100. That depends on your product, your services, your people, and your practices. So what are you going to use for your business? It should be effective. Otherwise, you will have a set of matrices. It's available in system or somewhere, but nobody uses it. So again, useless. So that is what, like, you have to invest time and energy. You can always, like, get the matrices available, standard matrices developed by experts. That's always good. But like, you argue always with your environment, your product, your services, and make it to yourself. These are our matrices. This is how we are going to use it. Sometimes same matrices, there are different calculation mechanism depending on the business. But if you just download and use it, that may not be applicable to your business. The next point is data literacy. Do you understand data? Do you have data dictionary, data about data? Reading that data is important. Then the training and awareness. How do you going to build the training and awareness within the organization? Now, this is also building awareness. But same time, you might have to go into detail sessions, workshops to build that awareness. Talk about some example, real-time experiences. So you understand the value of it. You understand how to collect data, how to process data, how to analyze data, how to use tools, how to, let's say, talk about this data in a board meeting, senior management meeting, how to, like, make decisions out of those data, and data continuity, data quality audit. So that is the training requirement. So when you have these different components with data-driven decisions, you can get into a lot of insights and actions. That is what is important. Insight about the organization, insight about the future focus, insight about your people, insight about your competition. If you can bring external data sources into your organization and to action it, make certain decisions, do certain course corrections. So that's the whole process. Okay, it is not an overnight thing. Sometimes it might take in even like 12 to 18 months to create that culture. I can't name, like, one big organization. Sometime back, I hired a consultant to get some, like, internal awareness and stuff like that. Even being an IT company, still, like, we use that person. He was telling, like, now my company I'm working for last 3 years, and still, like, I can't say this very successful. That's what he told me. He's expert in that area. Even after 3 years, still certain areas they are struggling, because this is not an easy exercise. People will just learn, then go back to their, like, routine work, and they might forget to continue this data journey. So that is why leadership is important. Okay, so the leadership, trust, commitment, matrices, data literacy, and training become so important to make this a reality. So you have to invest time. Leadership should invest time. People should invest time. Our biggest problem is actually day-to-day life. We are so busy. But I'm always telling this, like, when I deliver lectures. So we have to do things differently. You have to do different things. Now, let's say last week, we carry out certain activities. This week also, today is Friday. We have done certain activities. Now look at things you have done differently from last week to this week. What is your plan for next week? Are you planning anything differently than this week during next week? That is a question to answer. So can we do things differently? Can we do different things? Those two things also different. Things differently and different things. So this can be a different thing. Bring into your organization to change your organization. Make it a futuristic organization. Create a data-driven culture. Make it to a practice. So we'll try to understand steps to effectively make data-driven decisions. What steps you should take? First of all, identify business objectives. That is actually already you all have done. You all are very clear about business objectives. Purpose of the business. Why this organization? What is your purpose of your organization? What are the critical business objectives within that framework? So that is important. Because starting point is that. Otherwise, you will collect some data. That is why I strongly am recommending don't just get the matrices. It should be validated, organized, and it has to be your set of matrices, not someone else's. Okay, so that is why starting point is what? Objectives. Okay, then survey business teams for key sources of data. Now, if you know the objectives, you to understand okay, from where we generate this data, our internal data, from where this data comes, at what point, what are the trigger points to generate this data? That is, I told you, now Toyota culture, that the Toyota Way book says, there's no data entry operators separately. I have seen some companies actually operation is normal, manual, but the set of people are entering data into systems. That is for information purposes. My consideration is waste of time and energy. But we have to make sure, while carrying out your day-to-day operation, your activities, systems and processes should generate data. And what data you require? Now, simple example, even recently, we wanted to implement analytics within a bank environment. Within a bank environment, not a local bank, international bank. So we wanted to implement certain analytics, HR analytics. The subject area is HR analytics. So you'll not believe, let's say these analytics are descriptive analytics. That is what happened. Descriptive analytics, what happened? Then diagnostic analytics. It is not output, but it's exercise. Reason behind what happened. You carry out some diagnostic exercise to understand reason behind what happened. There's a sales drop. Why? There's employee turnover increases. Why? Diagnostic exercise. Third point, predictive analytics. You predict the future based on the descriptive analytics, past. Based on the diagnostic exercise, you predict the future, predictive analytics. And further, you can further develop prescriptive analytics. Prescriptive analytics. Now, doctorize the prescription. Doctor predict the future of the patient and write the prescription. These are the tests you have to do. These are the drugs you have to take. These are the exercises you have to do. Doctor prescribe things. And even analytics area, there's a prescriptive analytics. For you to get into the future expected or desired state, what to do? This is very interesting. So you're trying to implement this analytics framework within the organization. Then you realize, first actually starting point is data audit. When we start the data audit, we realize most of required data is not capturing. Most of required data not capturing. Now, simple example, when employee is leaving, since it's HR area, when employee want to leave the organization, what data required to capture? When we realize yes, there's a handover process and there's exit interview, but where's those data? No, HR manager is conducting exit interview, but data is not captured into a systematic way, into a system. So then you can't make use of that data. So that data is missing. So these are common problems. Okay. So third angle is collect the data. So you have to collect data. It can be manual, it can be through systems. You have to look at the quality of that data, accuracy of that data, timeliness of that data. Timelines can vary now. Let's say a plantation sector, sometime like, production detail, you have to decide like, what frequency you can get this data. Can you get last week data this week? Can you get last month data this month? So you have to decide on the frequency. Okay, depend on the industry, depend on the area. Okay, so what data, what hurdles you have when it comes to data collection? So whether this data is connected data or disconnected data.
Water dispensers here.
So these are the, we have to look at it. I think if you can mute your mic, Vasanta, if you can mute your mic, that's much better. Thank you so much. So the collection data, from where you can collect that data is connected. Sales data to operations data to delivery data to, like, all these things should be connected. View and next flow data. Do you have a mechanism to collect this data, process this data, visualize this data? Do you have tools like business intelligence tools? Usually companies today use business intelligence tool. You get the data from various sources, bring that into data warehouse, or we call it data lake. That is collection of data from various sources with the definition and whatever data about data. From that point, you can visualize that data. So through data visualizing, you can develop insights. Yeah, any question? Yeah, so you develop insights. Okay, so you have a tool that can be Hyperion, that can be Cognos, that can be business objects. So whatever, it doesn't matter. Whatever BI tool, even Microsoft BI tools, like, so you use that BI tool and you get the output insights. So not only you, sometimes you develop that insight, you pass it to the relevant people for them to make use of that data, those insights. That is important. You have to act on it. You have to act on it. And you have to share where relevant. Make sure that data is available for decision making. Data is available, but if you're not using that data for decision making, that is why these days everybody is talking about this April attack. So now everybody realizes data is available, but nobody has taken any action on that data, leads to a disaster. So these are common problems. Organizations, sometimes you might have that data. Now, simple example. Now let's say in system point of view, in HR point of view, you can get from the HR system, like, let's say, who are the probable people to leave the organization during next couple of months. High risk of losing. If the data set is correct, there are algorithms, you get the prediction. You get the prediction. That prediction is 85% accurate. If you log into the system, you can see that. But if nobody used that data, if the HR head is not using that data, if the CEO is not using that data, useless having that information. That list is there. Even today, like, if I log into the system, I can see. But if I'm not, because I might not take action on certain people, but I should know who are the most important people in my top 10 or top 20 who are trying to leave. That is very interesting. Then if someone asks, like, how do you identify that? That is based on algorithms. So usually you look at, like, patterns of people. If you look at, like, let's say when employees are leaving towards their resignation, employee usual behavior is different. The leave patterns can be different. Attendance patterns can be different. Work performance can be different. Engagement levels can be different within the organization. So if you analyze, like, people who left, their data behavior during last 3 months, just before leaving, last 3 months or last 6 months, you can develop a certain model, apply that model to existing employee base, and understand people with the similar behavior. It doesn't mean everybody will leave. Identify people with similar behavior. Get into a good discussion with them. understand their grievances better. That is what we mean by acting. Go and talk to your CEO. So and so, like, there's a tendency that guy will leave. It's a very critical resource we want to retain. Shall we get into a good discussion with that person? So those are the recommendations. Like you have to like, plan it. Before planning, you have to ask the right set of questions. Based on the right set of questions, you have to plan. Based on the planning, you have to collect the right data. Based on the collected data, you have to analyze. Based on your analysis, recommendations. So this is an interesting cycle. This is not one-off activity we are talking about. This is a process we are talking about. That is the interesting part. So develop a plan to collect necessary data to answer the questions you have. Now, simple example. I'll ask simple example. Now, what is the last time you invest some time to understand what information and intelligence you require to manage your business better? My question is, what is the last time you invest some time, good quality time, to understand what information and intelligence you require to make your business area and decisions better? That's an interesting question to answer. Just think about. I don't need to answer. Maybe like, a few of you all can answer. What is the last time? Is it last month, 3 months back, 6 months back, 1 year back, more than a year? If it is more than a year, there's a problem. If it is more than a year, there's a problem. If you have done that exercise during last 12 months, you're at least okay. So you have to, regular basis, you have to look at what? What information, what intelligence I require to manage my business better. So my way of doing things or looking at it every 6 months, and do some course correction. So planning is very, very essential. Simple example. Now, simple example, if as an individual, if you do this, then you extend this exercise to your department. So your department will understand department data requirement, department information requirement, department intelligence requirement. So you extend to other departments. Then as an organization, you will understand organization information requirement, organization intelligence requirement. So Sajid, if you can, thank you. So so organization should know what is my information requirement and what is my intelligence requirement. So get that, what data you require, what systems will provide that data. So this is, I recommend, if you have not done, department level, company level, sector level, it is a good exercise to perform. Good exercise to perform. You don't need consultants. Like within the organization, you can do that. You question what intelligence we require. Thinking of the market, thinking about the industry, think where the world is heading. So you can collect that data. So this is very important. Okay. Develop a plan to collect necessary data to answer this question. So you need a plan. Always we say, like, failing to plan is planning to fail. Like that's a common saying. Okay. So to do that, you have to form a team. I recommend within the organization, covering different areas like operational, tactical, and strategy, form a team with the right people, with the right skill set, understanding the value of data. You don't have to be very technical guys, like, I'm not expecting programming skills or data science knowledge or whatever. But today, organization point of view, it is recommended to have one company, at least one data science engineer, or otherwise a data science team. If airlines in America had this, like, way back in 1990s, Why can't we do it today? Why can't we do it today? Because we are sitting on trillions of terabytes of data, trillions of records. If you're not doing anything with that, that's a crime. We consider as a crime. So when you analyze that data, you can make very interesting decisions. So you need the right skill set, like maybe one technical guy, that can be maybe a consultant, or like, you hire a person, data science skill. Today, like, even there's a good demand for data science engineers. Now even my organization, I have a team who is working on the data science area. That is for like, for us as well as for customers. Okay. So you can hire like, there are courses like available in government universities and private sector universities. So you can find that talent today, but very limited. Like you can't find like, quickly, very next month, you can't recruit 10 people. That is very difficult, but maybe 1 or 2 you can find. So then you have to scan the environment, your organization. What data you have, what sources generate this data, what framework, what Excel sheets, what data sets, what systems, files. You have to scan. You have to understand the current scenario, current situation. Identify roles and stakeholders that need for this process. As I told you, 1 or 2 data science engineers, since you are a bigger sector with many companies, maybe like, a 2 to 3 member team, full-time working on data. And the rest, like, from other departments. Representation from HR to finance to production to plantation sector, like, within the plantations, you like cross-functional team. Guys onto sales area, you build a cross-functionality, because functional knowledge is very important. Data science engineer can't generate insights without support of functional guys. Domain knowledge, domain expertise. So with that, you have to create awareness among stakeholders. Create the awareness among stakeholders. Because it will take some time. Don't wait till the last minute. Start at the beginning. Then identification of data needs. So you have to prepare a set of questions to collect that data, brainstorm within different departments, within different companies, within different sectors. Begin to look at like, from where we can collect data. Some are internal, some are external. What are the processes? What are the mechanisms you collect that data? And you have to refine that list. Now, this is actually one of the exercises I did within my organization. This is a sample, just like not the whole set, but 4 different pillars. So the marketing pillar, sales pillar, product development pillar, project delivery pillar. There are many other pillars, but just a sample, like I just looked at the 4 pillars. So we looked at what is our wish list as organization. If you look at sales area, we want to measure individual performance. At the same time, we want to measure the overall sales performance of the company. Sometimes individual can be very good, but because of a product issue, your overall sales performance can go down. So while looking at the individual performance, you have to look at the overall sales performance of the organization. So it's a combination of unique and standard parameters within the organization. So product development more or less same, delivery more or less same. So when you understand your wish list and validate that wish list, at the end of the day, no point of just getting whatever if you're not going to use that. So you have to look at like, okay, when are you going to use it? Our client acquisition cost, for what purpose? What are the decisions are you going to make? At what meetings are you going to make that decision? Otherwise, client acquisition cost will be available, but nobody makes use of that data. So no use. How do you going to utilize market penetration data? What are the decisions you are going to make? At what meetings? Average lifetime value, LTV of customer. Churn rate of customers. Data is available sometimes. Nobody make use of. So that is not going to work. That's also you have to standardize. Like you have to make sure you have certain meetings, maybe like management review meetings, or management meetings, sales meetings, to production meetings, whatever, these are some of the discussion points. You have to take these points within that discussion. You have to spend some time, make those sections recommendation to top management. That is very important. So you have to, these should be living matrices, not something like, from sun or moon, like, you got it. No, this is your matrices. I'm just showing like, my matrices, what matrices I am using for different areas. So this is very interesting. I realized actually sometime back, I'll give you a simple example. When I realized sometime back, when I analyzed like, support systems and data available within the support system, that data is connected with already with, because we have a process called customer 360. So you look at customer 360 angle, a number of issues to what products to use, annual revenue to number of complaints, like, overall, that is called customer 360, satisfaction level and everything. So when you analyze that data set, we realize, you will not believe, like, within my support team, number of hours, because we all know in a typical service industry team, you have like, let's say you consider 8 hours minimum, 8 hours into number of days you work, like you have roughly around 160 hours per month. So if you have, let's say 30 people, 160 into 30. That's the total available now hours. So when you do the detailed analysis, we realize 60% of my support area engineering time, they are investing only for 12% of support accounts. Now see the beauty. 60% of engineering time goes into 12% of support accounts. Then I looked at revenue, because it's a customer 360. That generate only 15% of overall revenue. 12% of customers generate 15% of support revenue, but utilize 60% of engineering time. So we have to analyze in detail and make certain course corrections. So we have to decide what system to use. Like, we have Kiflow, that is partner management, because we are globally, we have partner network. So partner network management, we use a system called Kiflow. Then we use a CRM solution. Then we use our own HR system. Then we use the Redmine system, like, for data capturing on the projects level and support area. The bug tracking and other area, we use Bugzilla. Finance and those areas, like, we use Dynamics 365, Microsoft. So we bring all this data into one common database, one common data lake, data environment. Then we apply Microsoft BI tools to get the required output. So you have customer data, you have finance data, you have issue data, you have HR data as well. You have everything in one single environment. So from there, you can get the output the way you want, way you require. So that's what you have to plan it. What systems you have. Some areas can be manual. Some areas can be half-baked. It doesn't matter. You have to start. Don't wait till, like, you finalize all systems. Don't wait. Some area can be manual. So you agree on, these are the data we have to generate. Who is feeding that information even into Excel sheet or a Google sheet? That can be the starting point. That is the data set you are going to use for analysis. But they have to update on a regular basis. You agree on a deadline. Last month data by 5th of next month, you have to update. So after 5th, you can use last month data set for analysis purposes. Have some cutoff dates. So how was the data sourced? That's the important part. That is why, like, sometimes it's automated processes, sometimes, like, manual. Some areas can be manual. Doesn't matter. But bring that into, at least into Excel sheet, those manual data. So you can make use of that. You don't need everything now, because you identify the matrices you want. To develop those matrices, what data points you have, those data you have to bring it to some environment. Minimum condition is even to bring to Excel sheet. But you have to make sure this data quality, because poor quality data is worse than no data, no intelligence. You will make wrong decisions based on wrong information. And even the sources, credibility of the data source. Assume like you want to collect computer data, from where you collect that computer data? Is that source accurate? Can you rely on that? The second point is actually how it was analyzed. Need to identify methods to analyze. You have to understand the quality of the analytical model. That is where you need actually data scientist. You need a data scientist. Now, those days, like, people say CEO's next room occupied by a secretary. But now CEO's next room occupied by a data scientist who understand business. Data scientists who understand business is a highly demand role in Europe. Highly demand role. Then CEO and the data analyst will work closely. The data analytics engineer or the data scientist will generate these predictions. We'll do data mining to understand hidden patterns of data. Sometimes data talks about the company. Data talks about the company. Data will give you the stories. There's a famous story I think you might have heard about in a supermarket system. When they analyze data, they realize when people buy beer on Fridays and Saturdays, they buy Pampers. Who says? Nobody predict. Data set. Data set says when people buy beer, because they look at like combination of buying patterns. They analyze the buying patterns and they combine that data. They cluster that data. They develop sequences. So very interesting. There's another famous story from Target supermarket chain. The supermarket chain called Target. Target supermarket chain, like send a let's say a leaflet to that area, like families in that area. But they know like this Target supermarket is very intelligent. They only like send even a leaflet. They will not send without a reason. But leaflet says things you have to buy in 4th month pregnancy. Things you have to buy in 4th month pregnancy. The father called the supermarket manager and blast the guy. Said, don't send these stupid flyers. Do you think anyone at my place is pregnant? That's a story actually, famous story. So supermarket manager apologized. Sorry, sir, extremely sorry, sir. This can be a mistake. I will check on that. And sorry, sir, extremely sorry, sir. Very next day, supermarket manager called father. Extremely sorry, sir, what happened yesterday? But unfortunately, your daughter is pregnant. But I'm not the responsible person. The tagline, this is actually ad. Tagline says, supermarket will get to know before father. Tagline is what? Supermarket will get to know before father. So that is the beauty. That is the beauty of data analytics. They know the customer behavior. They understand the customer better. So you need proper analytical models in place for you to get the right insights. And also you have to understand what doesn't the data tell you. Because if you don't have the right data points, sufficient data points to make that decision, system might tell you these are the people going to leave the company, and that may be wrong outputs. You have to avoid that as well. How can we use data for decision making? That is where you need the culture. You have to make it to a culture. Every meeting you have to have a line item to discuss about this data. Look at this data. Make certain decisions based on that data. So the challenges are lack of infrastructure and tools. Obviously, most of companies struggling with that. You don't have proper mechanism to collect that data. Check the accuracy, do like regular audits, data cleansing exercises, right tool set to collect data, consolidate data, cleanse that data, and availability of that data for you to use it. Poor quality data. That is one of the biggest problem. You all know even Fortune 500 company list. There's a recent report says Fortune 500 company list. 25% of those companies data they generate to analyze poor. That means like even we will have problems, obviously. But the beauty is actually there are responsible people to keep on correcting, keep on correcting, keep on correcting. Then you will achieve. If Thomas Alva Edison can do the same thing 1,000 times to invent the bulb, why can't we do course correction for a period of time? If it is part of the culture, that will happen. Siloed data, on the other hand, not connected. Sales data is different. Production data is different. Distribution data is different. So these data is in siloed. It is not connected. Because of that, you can't get consolidated data. Simple example, one bank is paying overtime on regular basis. So once the data layer is ready, HR head start analyzing this data. Not only HR data with business data. Start analyzing HR data with business data. So he was looking at branch performance versus overtime utilization. Branch performance versus overtime utilization. So he realized there are certain branches, branch performance low, overtime utilization high. So you start investigating, acting on it, act on this data set. So you realize there's an issue on certain branches. So that's the beauty. But if you have data in siloed, overtime data is separate, branch performance separate. So how do you going to make effective decisions? At the same time, whatever to do, lack of organization-wide buy-in. If you don't have that buy-in from the managing director level to the bottom line, everybody should appreciate the value. Put an effort to collect that data. Put an effort to collect that data. That is important. You might not do otherwise. Not knowing how to use the data. Data is available. As I told you, terabytes of data is available within the organization. So, but if you're not going to use, so where's the problem? What is the problem? So you have to, it's challenging. You should know. Now, recently, this is actually one of my learning from Google. So Google actually, they develop certain job title personas. So I start doing this 2 years back. You will not believe it gives me tremendous results. What I did a very simple exercise. That's also I learned from Google. But I apply to my organization way I want. I'll take one example. Let's say my sales guys, I looked at during last 10 years, because I'm within the organization for last 20 plus years. So I know sales guys work with me during last 10 years by name. I know the guy. Personally, I did this exercise. I open Excel sheet. I put the sales guy's name. Under that, I start writing down the competencies they had. Let's say a guy called Kamal. What competencies Kamal had? What qualities Kamal had? Positive behavior, Kamal had. Then you go to Nimal, again write down. Then you go to Gihan, you write down. I looked at actually around 10 good sales guys who achieved targets during last 10 years work with me. They are not with me even, majority. They are heads of the department in certain companies, place directors, now not in the country, some guys. I looked at what behavioral indicators they had, best guys. Then I consolidate. I picked most important areas, common areas from all the guys, and develop my sales manager persona. This is the sales manager I want. These are the competencies I require, because these are the guys perform at my environment. That guy might not perform in another company. So my environment is different, my product is different, my support structure for a person to go and do a sales can be different. Top management support can be different. So the guy to perform at my environment, these are the competencies I require. So based on that, I develop a test. I'm working with a company called PeopleLogica in Australia. So I asked them to develop an assessment for me. assessment, competency assessment based on my requirement. So now, because I'm doing the final interview when you are recruiting senior managers and managers. So before my interview, my HR runs that test. They ask the guy to go through that test and bring me the results. So I conduct the interview based on that results. So I know, like, what, even that report says what questions you should ask to verify certain competencies further, especially weak areas. Report gives me certain question also to ask, verify further. What combination works better? So my accuracy is high. Otherwise, you recruit a sales guy. Huh? Now you make the decision based on data, not based on gut feeling. Those are the actionable data. So you make the decision. Huh? So that is part of data processing. Like, so you get the data. Huh? You have to look at, like, identification of data that required for your process. This is a decision making of a recruitment. So I understand what data I require to make that decision. I use that. That can be qualitative and quantitative some cases. Huh? What sources will bring this data? Reliability of the data source. Cost benefit analysis. Sometimes, like, certain data, bringing that data into the environment is so difficult. So cost is very high compared to the benefit. So you have to ignore it. Can't help. Huh? How long will it take to get that data? Because otherwise, like, because we are in a fast moving world. So if it is delayed, make the decision. Systems in place to start analyzing data. Don't do that. Don't do that mistake. Even maybe you might have system in certain areas can be manual. Start the journey. Collect that manual data into at least Excel, combine with the system driven data, bring it to a system environment with the data scientist and make use of. Certain areas you might have systems, certain areas you may not have. So I have the HR system, Redmine, CRM, PRM, Finance ERP, and Bugzilla. So these areas will give me the right data set for me to analyze. So that's the beauty. These are some of the generate data example, how to generate like revenue, cost, profitability from the main ERP system, invoice data and other customer related data from Redmine, customer and partner related data from CRM and PRM system. So we know when you are generating system, which system generate what information. So based on that, we can connect and get the output. Today's like, don't get it into information silos. Try your best to connect this data. So you will have that data from all the system. So data analyst or the scientist knows what exactly top management require in terms of matrices. He will do the analysis part and get you the data. These are some samples. Revenue analysis, cost analysis. You can drill down. You can look at the company level, SBU level, cumulative basis. So you run your analysis you want. If you go to a system, you can even drill down and go to the next level. You can have a dashboard and you can drill down further. So you can do various analysis. So what are the gaps? If the gap is high, like, how do you go to recover that gap during next few months? Average per month, how much you have to do like to recover the gap? Whether the trend is increasing or decreasing. Can you compare this year data with last year data? Last 3 year like analysis, month on month. So that's what we have to understand. That's what we have to do. So the recommendation is what? Finally, should use data analysis to generate actionable recommendations. That is very important. No point of investing time on data preparation, collection, analyzing, and everything if you don't have a proper plan for your management to action. Implement those recommendations. Form an implementation plan. Divide responsibilities among senior team, junior teams, and data science team. Assign relevant duties to the appropriate stakeholder. Let them understand their responsibility and their accountability areas. Communicate results, outcomes to the all stakeholders, how organization benefit out of that data. So that is important. One finance manager once, like, discuss in a very offline discussion. He was telling, like, I'm into 3 shift, 24 hours, 3 shift. So my biggest problem is actually I can't release my first shift guy till the second shift guys are in the work environment. So I have to pay some extra overtime because I have to ask the first shift guy to stay. So that overtime cost into 3 shift to 30 days, this much. It's huge. It's not that simple. Even the values are small, we are talking about, like, let's say 5,000-6,000 people, 3 shift into 30 days. So that's a number, good number. So then I asked some information, like, now how are they travel and stuff like that. Then I realized when I walk into that factory environment, there are some buses parked. I asked, like, just company arrange buses. I told them, like, the technology like IoT can be used, Internet of Things. You fix the attendance device to the bus. There are portable attendance device. You fix the attendance device to the bus. When the person gets into the bus, capture attendance. Pass that information directly to the cloud environment. Attendance device to cloud. From cloud, flow manager, line manager will get that information. So these people in my line are walking to the office. Release the other guys. So you reduce the overtime, but almost by 80%. So saving is huge. So that is the results we are talking about. So to make sure you go and get a results. On Netflix, one example, like, they keep on collecting data, like all big guys. They collect data, they improve. They collect data, they learn and improve. They collect data, learn and improve. So get into the data-driven decision making. Amazon, again, like, they were a bookstore initially. Now it's a complete, like, hub. You will not believe, like, what they're doing with data. Even Pick Me to Uber, you will not believe, like, the work they do with data. Google People Analytics, that's what I told you, like, I used for my organization as well. These some of the case studies available on net. My recommendation is for you to go and read some of these things. So you will also learn certain things. So what are the benefits? Confident decision making. Your decisions are much more accurate, more proactive than reactive. Are you going to wait, like, till employee resign and then go and talk to the person? Or are you get the sense that, like, this employee is going to leave, looking around, then talk to the person and understand the grievances and try to, like, retain that person? So you have to be a reactive person or you have to be a proactive person, because this will definitely, like, impact the business. And obviously cost saving, realization of cost saving, profit increase, revenue increase. So you have to drive the whole data journey to results, toward results. Don't be happy just because you are getting some matrices. Don't be happy. Look at, like, how to use that data to actionable items and business outcomes. So what makes a difference is, like, when you get the real business outcome through data. So these are the things I thought of covering. I think there are a few questions. If we, accessing quality trusted data can be a big hurdle. Business information cited many disconnectors also agree. Yes, can be one of the reason to collapse the best well-organized teams. Yes, because sometimes you might make wrong decisions based on wrong data. If you make wrong decisions based on wrong data, that impact the people. So you do a promotion based on some wrong data, wrong information available in the system. You make a decision on a product. So before making a decision, you need quality data. That is common country level. That is common, like, company level. That is common even department level. If you analyze an employee 100% based on data, how to analyze honesty, integrity? No, don't get me wrong. Actually, you can't just analyze everything only based on data. You have to combine the quantitative and qualitative angle both. Okay, that is why still you conduct the interview. That is why you ask certain questions to understand the integrity and honesty and different things. That is why even some of the actually online tests also support you to understand some of these qualities. So you have to design the test in such a way you understand them better. Okay, but obviously don't ignore the qualitative angle. Any data-driven decision making, okay, quantitative angle, both quantitative and qualitative angle is important. This is very good question. Thank you very much for asking that question. Accessing quality trusted data can be agreed, can't be one of reason to same thing. Yeah, any other questions?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jayasundara, for this very informative and interesting session. And of course, we are really thankful our company also for giving us this opportunity.
No problem.
Now, what my question is now, like we are working at a company now. I work at Calnivari Plantations, where we are fully data and information driven. For an example, like we are able to get all our crop details of all the states by the next day morning through a cloud system. That is very going into very detail. We can see from which area we are lacking, who has bought less crop, who has bought more crop, like that. In a very particular way, we can track all the data. But now we are unable to share actually all this information from top to bottom. I mean, we are able to do it from top to for our level, and maybe some officers level will be able to communicate that information. But when it comes to communicating those people, for those who work actually, the workers, we are unable to do it. I mean, but the main reason is they have no interest. Either they don't have interest or they don't understand what we are telling, because there's huge educational gap also. Yeah, you agree, right? So what are the tips or tricks that you can give us to make people in the bottom line? They are the most important set of people. So what are the tips or tricks you can give us for these bottom people to realize the importance of this information and data? I mean, we'll be able to wonders if they also, like, as a team, will be able to. Yeah, you understand what I say, right?
I 100% actually agree with you. This is a common problem, like not only plantation sector, even other organizations are facing. In fact, up to some level, my organization as well, because engineer will only focus on engineering work. He will not value what data we produce from what systems and how that is going to benefit the organization. Very similar. Maybe your problem is maybe much higher because it's plantation sector. The worker level, their knowledge level may be very low. But long term, to correct this, that is why I want to make it a culture. Okay, so there are a few things to do. One thing is you have to keep on talking about this language. Sometimes, the language you talk at the tactical level and strategic level, or top level and the middle level, and the same data, same questions you talk on with the junior level can be completely different. So the data language, what to share, not to share, how to motivate them. You have to get into their language, their life. So one is over a period of time, when you keep on doing, they will get into that. Okay, that is one way of what I do. I told you beginning, sometimes I repeat, even one of my manager always laugh, now Sampath want to implement this. Okay, so that is why he's whatever forum we talk about that. Even maybe lunch meeting or whatever, I start talking about that, but my tone can be different. Okay, the tone to senior management, tone to junior management, tone to executives can be different. So you have to understand their culture, their way of doing things, how it is going to impact them. Because culture like ours, sometimes unfortunately, people will look at how it is going to benefit me. So that also you have to factor in. So if you are trying to make their life easy, so you have to point it out. So you have to show some value to them also, to get their buy. That's very important. So try your best to make it to a culture. That is what I actually recommend you to read the Toyota Way book. So it says like, how they did the cultural transformation. So whatever level at the factory, everybody support the same purpose, same areas. So it's the short term, there's no answer, there's no solution. But long term, you have to make it to a culture. You have to change the tone and talk their language and bring that knowledge to their level. So those are some of the suggestions to bring it down.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, Shan, you have a question? You raise your hand. Any question?
Yeah, Shine, you have raised your hand. You can raise your question. Any other questions from any team members?
Good evening, Mr. Jasundar. I'm Vijit from Calnival Plantations.
Yes, Vijit.
I have a small question. What is the important responsibility for a data analyst?
Yeah, a very good question. Actually, now most of things I told you, data analyst can be a team leader who can work with the rest of the teams. Because now if you look at sales guys or the plantation workers or whoever, they have a day-to-day role to play. But data analyst will make sure data source, what data source will bring this data, credibility of that data source, how to cleanse that data. Are we getting the right data into our hand? Then the analytical model, what models are required to get the right output. Okay, so you are a technical person as well, so you can use the model and you can get the output as well. And you can't wait. The data analyst also should be a proactive person. You can't be reactive person. I have seen some people actually, when CEO asks only you, go back and do the analysis and bring that data. No, that's not the expectation. Okay, you have to go and tap the CEO's door and say, I have some interesting insights. So these are the data mining results. And then there's some variation in this area. So that is, I'm telling always better to get a data analyst and train on the systems, train on the business. Because now no point of having a data analyst if that person can't understand the plantation sector, the behavior. So you get a data analyst, it doesn't matter. But these guys are technical guys capable of understanding the business. So you allow that person to understand your business end to end. From planting point to distribution and get into a tea factory to customer tea bag. So let him understand so you have to be a very proactive person, guide the whole team and manage the whole thing. So that's the expectation of a data scientist engineer, but he will closely work with CEO, senior management member to get the right output. But of course, you just because you hire a data analyst, don't wait till he gives you everything. That's another mistake we do. So you have to work with the data scientist, and because they will know the algorithms, like what algorithms are used, so they will do the research part and everything. Okay, but keep a close relationship with them to get the right output. So invest time with them. So that is my argument. So there are knowledgeable guys on data side. So they are obviously competent on statistics and tools, IT tools. So they will do a fair job. Is it clear?
Good evening, Mr. Sundar. Sorry for earlier I had a technical issue. So why I want to know is nowadays our worker associates, they are well into the new technology. They are using mobile phones and they have internet facilities and computers and various things. So can't we use those things for the benefit of their day-to-day life, actual lifestyles? Because normally estates like ours, I'm actually in Halgol Estate, Yatiyantota, so they find some difficulties to find some shops and various day-to-day needs. So can't we use those things for their betterment?
Can do. can do. Now, you will not believe, like, I think Sri Lanka is not developed up to that level, because what you are talking about is actually not only within the company. It's like, it should connect with society as well. Now,
Yes.
Sri Lanka, the biggest problem is actually sometimes enough vegetable available in Valimad area, but Kalam people are suffering like, we don't have vegetables. So those are common problems. So like, you need some intelligent systems. Now, even like, day yesterday, I went through a video, very nice video, like, they say, so like, the tool, the tools tells you, tools understand your day-to-day pattern, your monthly patterns and stuff like the tools tells you what to do and not to do. So if you have that data now, simple example, supermarket chains available in Australia, when you get into the supermarket, your digital screen will change. Supermarket digital screen will change to what you are going to buy. Because today people will do your research part before walking to a shop. So the data, the backend data they collect. Now people say even Google, if you enter some data and delete, that also captured. So Google knows better than your spouse about you. So they are the best people to write your character certificate. Think about like, last 10 years, things you wrote in Google, typed in Google. So they know about you. So that data is captured and shared with multiple sources. And when you get into the supermarket, they know what purpose you are working in the supermarket. So screen will change for things you want to buy. You all know near field communication, and there are so many technologies available today. Okay. So to improve our social life, unfortunately, we are not using that data. It is a very good session that actually society level you have to look at, like, maybe those are the things that municipal council should look at it. So improve the life of people, like, let's say, fulfill their requirement. But even like, company level also, you can up to certain level, you can bring data that is depend on like, availability of data, how far you can share that data with them, how far like you can collect their data into the system. Because if you allow them to share their grievances to a system, okay, so that's also a good method, like, so you allow them to update whatever like, their grievances into a system. So you capture so much of data, qualitative and quantitative data. So then you look at the artificial intelligence tools to analyze that data and understand their behavior, understand their grievances, understand their unrest. So you can implement better solutions. So that company level, you can do that. Group level, you can do that. So you develop some tools and make those tools available on mobiles and let people like, update. Even voice recording, like, whatever language, doesn't matter today, like, voice conversion to tracking to all these things are available as tools. So engage them as much as possible. When you engage, you can get data. That is why a lot of companies are implementing enterprise social networks. Enterprise social networks like FB to Twitter to LinkedIn to whatever, you implement enterprise social network within the organization, connecting all the employees. Now then, there's a very simple system with multilingual support, Tamil, Sinhala and English in Sri Lankan context, available. A basic application runs on your mobile to workers. So they also can update. They also can talk. They can directly like, send something to management or the HR. So they are engaged. So, but that data, HR and management can analyze. Because why? Like, whole workers, like, grievances, what workers think, what they appreciate, what they like, what they dislike. If you have a mechanism to collect that data through enterprise social network, you can analyze, and that data will give you like, insights for you to make the right decision. Sometimes what we are trying to give them, that may not be what they want, maybe something else. So how do you want to identify those cultural or the climate? You can understand if you collect the right data.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. I think fantastic learning output, Sampath. I think I think our team was able to tap about nearly 1.5 hours from your valuable time, and they were really engaged and interestingly joining with this insightful and the knowledge sharing session. Sampath, I must thank, and I want to convey one message that our MD, Dr. Roshan Rajore, was there with us, but he had to leave for another urgent discussion. So he want to convey that his great appreciation to you, Sampath, because you have taken a lot of time to educate our team through this critical topic that we all are dealing with in our day-to-day business life. So thank you very much, Sampath. On behalf of all at Helis Plantations, actually, it's very interesting. As you know that we are, as most of our team members also mentioned, that we are dealing with a lot of data and taking those data into decision-making process. And what the key learning today, I believe that data science is a very significant and very impressive subject where you can turn your data not to hide on the boardroom table, but to make the data to dance on the boardroom table. So that's the beauty of the data management. I believe that you are expert on that. You will agree with me. So once again, on behalf of everyone of Helis Plantations team, Sampath, thank you very much for giving this opportunity us.
Yeah,
and,
thank you very much, Anuruddha, for inviting me to do this session. In fact, I'll email this PowerPoint presentation to you, so you can distribute to whoever want this PowerPoint presentation. And then also it is very interesting what you are doing, educating your leadership teams and management team, on various subject matter. Is very interesting. I also learned something through that.
Okay, thank you very much, because this is 12th session of Even with an Expert, because we are utilizing the challenges we faced during the COVID period. Actually, if you want to conduct this physically, either we have to take the resource person to the region, or we have to call all the boys down to Colombo. But this has given another opportunity for HR to rethink on how to strategize our T&D. So we did it, and you are the expert speaker on 12 sessions. So once again, thank you very much. And we have a small token of appreciation, Sampath. Unfortunately, we are not in touch physically today, so I will be able to.
I didn't expect anything, Anuruddha. So it's my pleasure to share my knowledge, so because
it's our pleasure, Sampath. Yeah,
there's no
and
cost
thank
for
you
me,
very much.
Sharing my whatever things I know with you all, know, that's always.
We definitely. Once everything back to normal with your time availability, we would like to invite you. Actually, Dr. Rajdur also mentioned that to a physical session that I think we can have a one-to-one chat, the discussions, and I think that will be really meaningful more than we are dealing with the online platforms. So we'll see in future. Sure. I will contact you.
No problem.
Okay, thank you very much, Sampath. Once again, have a wonderful evening. And the friends, we have another small message to you. I think, as you know, that every 10 days we are conducting this series of sessions. But last month we have conducted only 2. So we are getting another very experienced resource person with his availability. We are going to conduct our next session on next Tuesday with Dr. Edwin Paro. Most of you all who have gone to Praguna Management Training Program, you all know who is Dr. Edwin Paro. He was the one of the advisory committee member for Prime Minister of Malaysia during the COVID-19 period. So I have invited Dr. Paro. He has accepted, and that will be on next Tuesday. Please reserve the date at 6 o'clock, at 4 o'clock of Sri Lankan time. So till that, have a great weekend. Thank you very much. And I must thank Susanta and his IT team also to give us this IT platform. And thank you very much, Susanta and his team. And have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Anuruddha. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.